very front row. Salon, the front row. Yes. Families to the left front. I know we have some more families that are not yet up front. So families of those graduating, please come to the front. Yes. They have, there is Alan. Great. There is a whole empty bench up front here. We are not going to start until families move to the front. And I see you. Kiddos, where are you? Where's your uncle, kiddos? And cousins? Anya, is Kidus out there with the seniors? With Fikir, perhaps? Because I don't see the Ethiopian family up front. Fikir, where is your family? We need your family up front. Chris, is Kidus there? And uncle and cousins? Great. To the front, please. We're on Quaker time. Great, now we can get started. Yes, don't ask me whether we're on Ugandan time. I say no, we're on Quaker time, Ethiopian time, Ugandan time, all at the same time. So welcome everyone to our commencement exercises, May 25th, 2024. We have 6 wonderful seniors. There are few guidelines here, and for the last couple of years, there have been 2 people each year who disregard the guidelines. Do not be that person, please. And the major one is that we hold our applause till the end. I know you'll want to upload when you see some people up here and all. Please hold all that applause to the very end. And once the seniors walk out, when they are now graduates, they will let us know when to upload as well. Again, do not be that person who ends up uploading halfway through. It's very awkward. So that's that. But otherwise, I'm so happy to see everyone. Those who don't know me, I'm Christian Achema, the honored to be the head of school for Olney Friends School, and with this class as well. So we are going to welcome our seniors and then go through our program. Between each item on the program, we will have a period of silent worship in the manner of our of Quakers, those of the Society of Friends. So if you haven't ever been a part of such an experience, you're in for a treat. Just silence is the key word here. Okay? Welcome, seniors, class of 2024. We are all here, in person and online, for you and because of you. Imagine all these souls are here for the 6 of you. You're very special to us, and let us just hear a little bit about some of the things you've done at Olney Friends School. I invite Roger to introduce the class of 2024. Roger.
Good morning. It is my sad duty to introduce you to the class of 2024. What a class. But first, I need to express gratitude, first to my wife, Diane, whose support and understanding makes everything possible for me, but also, and especially, to the people on the facing bench, faculty and staff of Olney Friends School. Their care and commitment is the secret sauce that keeps Olney going, as every one of our graduates can attest. I have been struggling with this introduction. Usually these things come pretty easily to me, but my subconscious is resisting, and the words won't come. To introduce you all here at commencement means we won't have any more classes together. I don't want to think about that. So, I'd really rather not introduce you. But I can give you some facts. We started together sophomore year and have been together ever since through junior and senior humanities. This is a class that, as sophomores, not only memorized all of Hamlet's To Be or Not to Be soliloquy, but set it to music and performed it. As juniors, they played a year-long Dungeons & Dragons campaign led by Jess and spent a full year in full immersion study of Moby Dick by Herman Melville. As seniors, they developed their own critical frameworks and did advanced analytical work around the idea of the male gaze, culminating with a close reading of Austen's Sense and Sensibility. They have excelled as astute, active, and empathetic readers. That was great, but it was not what was great about the class. I don't know that I can fully explain it. I encourage you to visit the collection room and take a look at the portrait project the kids did at the end of the year. Each senior had to take a photo of every other senior, and on the whiteboard they are all displayed in a grid. Here are how all the seniors saw Faith, or Fakir. But wonderful as those photos are, there's still something missing. I think we kind of transcended what a class might be. Another example, before the class trip, I had all of them over to my house for dinner, and while we were thinking about a movie to watch, someone discovered that I had an Alexa speaker in my dining room. And they could tell it to play any song. And so the next thing I know, they have broken into a spontaneous karaoke session, everybody singing their hearts out, laughing. It went on and on. Every now and then, I talk about heaven in class. I don't mean heaven in a biblical sense, but rather a kind of perfect, liminal place where everyone is fully known and loved. Sometimes, heaven happens. You can't think about it too much. I remember during the singing, Faith giving me this knowing smile, as if to say, see, there it is. But it was their writing that made the class. And the best writing they did was the stuff that wasn't even graded. I mean their journal, of course. Every week, someone, myself included, would be selected to do the journal that week. The assignment was simple. Write down everything that happened to you in the week in as much detail as you could. And on Thursdays, we'd read the journal out loud and pick a new person. On and on it went. We had a thing where, after reading, we'd try to guess how many words were written that week. Word count became a point of pride. Amo, who's here somewhere, last year, he was the champion word count man. He kind of broke the mold until now. I've compiled your journal for the year. Here it is. The whole thing. See that? What's your guess? How many words do you think y'all wrote? More than 10,000? Yes, more than 10,000. 200,000. Well, that's a lot. I can tell you that this is over 150 pages, a 12-point type set in double columns. And the word count is a little over 150,000 words. That's incredible. It's incredible to me. I couldn't believe it when I put it together. I wanted to print it out, but it was too big. I can't think of a better way to introduce each senior than to give you their own words from the journal. So let's get started, shall we? Nelson Kakito. As a 2.5-year senior from Kampala, Uganda, Nelson is the third Kakito I've had the pleasure to teach. His siblings, Nicholas and Alice, are also alums. He wrote about dogs, specifically the friendship between humans and dogs. He'll be attending Framingham University in the fall. Nelson is very chill. He's a good friend and unexpectedly sweet. I remember sophomore year, I think, doing the love questions with Nelson. These are 36 questions that lead to love from the New York Times. And one of them is, if you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be? And he answered without hesitation, my mother. In his journal, he wrote about Story Slam back in November. Quote, after dinner, I did my duties and we had to get ready for Story Slam, and the theme was monochrome. I was all black. And I then headed to the girls' dorm around 7:15 p.m. The juniors did a really good job at organizing the event. The snacks were really amazing. There were Oreos, Pringles, much more, also candy. Anyways, the storytelling began and everyone had amazing stories. But Christian's story was really beautiful and touching. He talked about how he met his wife, Vivian, and in the ending, he announced that it was Chris's birthday, which was a really nice ending for this story. We sang Chris happy birthday and cut some cake celebrating his life. The cake was really delicious. It really tasted like his new age will be very sweet. Dolores Luo is a 2.5-year senior from somewhere around Beijing, I think. Is that true? No? Yeah? Yeah. She'll be at the University of Wisconsin in Madison in the fall. Dolores wrote about the shadow of the original family, which is her way of describing the lingering effects of parents on children. When Dolores first came to Olney, her English was not very good, and she rarely spoke. But now, of course, it's hard to get her to stop talking. Dolores loves to cook. Looking back, so much of her writing is about food, buying it, cooking it, how to cook it, eating it, evaluating it. Here she is checking out the lunch menu. On the way downstairs to class, I leaned over to see what we had for lunch today. The moment I saw chicken, I lost interest in lunch food. But Shirley said, "It's fried chicken." And I jerked back and confirmed that it was fried chicken. I was in ecstasy. Baked chicken? No. Fried chicken? Hell yes. Oh, man. I agree. Fried chicken day is a really happy day around here. Abraham Malindwa was only with us for a year. He's from the shores of Lake Victoria in Kampala, Uganda. He wrote about co-ed sports, and specifically how co-ed sports can improve understanding between boys and girls. Abraham will be attending Washington and Jefferson College in the fall. Abraham is like a ray of sunshine in the dark. I've seldom met someone so upbeat all the time. Lunch was also important to Abraham. This is what he had to say about it. Pre-calculus was fun, but ROPA kept objecting to my work for some reason, and it was annoying. At lunch, I got a steak hoagie with burnt crispy bread and 2 cookies. For some reason, whenever I try to get cookies, Destiny and her table always talk about me. I mean, I just want to eat and feel nice, but I end up feeling bad. Like that time when Ray saw me with 3 cookies, and then he asked Hannah about how many cookies we were supposed to get during meals. Oh, God. Shirley Peng is a 3-year student from Beijing, China. She will attend New York University in the fall. Shirley wrote about the difference between human and AI-generated art. Shirley is a great student. What makes her great is her unique take on the world and her boundless curiosity. And she is really smart. Here she is talking about Andy Warhol in the journal. We made a class trip to the Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh. Shirley had already been. And so she writes, the last time I didn't even know him so well, so I kind of spent most of the time taking pictures of the ones that I like. So I decided to look carefully with my eyes for this time. It's nice to come with a whole class. I loved running into you guys once in a while. I find pop art to be so great. It is definitely rule-changing and brave. What I like about Andy Warhol is that his work still is very ahead, even for now. When the wave of consumerism and the development of mass media further broke the line between rich and poor, Andy, through drawing Campbell's soup cans, showed that fast fashion and fast food culture made everyone's life the same. One cultural symbol that made everyone look for individuality in the form of reproduction, which I still find true even for now. Faith Shanks is a 4-year senior from Barnesville, Ohio. She wrote about long-distance relationships, as you will hear shortly. Faith will be attending Marietta College in the fall. Faith. No one has a purer spirit or is more earnest in wishing the best for everyone. Faith's house became a destination for other Olney kids wanting to get away for the weekend, and Faith's family became a kind of extension of the Olney family. She wrote about a weekend when Anya Sears came to visit. I worked on humanities research, college essays, my metanoia reading, which was good, but you really have to focus on it. I only read 28 out of the 100 pages, though, and I've been writing my journal for an hour and a half now. I had to write yesterday and today. They're almost here, so Anya and I were helping Mom baby-proof the house. The twins, who are walking now, can and will get into everything. Their favorite thing is the dog water bowl. Then Eloine comes in with Seth, and she gives me a big Ellie hug, which was some of the best hugs ever, and then we play dollhouse with Eloine for the next 2 hours. Eloine is the best to play with, and it makes me feel like a kid again. This weekend I'm getting my Ellie fix, which is a very serious and real thing. It makes me feel so much better. Finally, Fakir Tegena is a 3.5-year senior from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Fakir wrote about parasocial relationships. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. Fakir will explain it in a few minutes. Fakir will be attending Iowa State University in the fall. There's no way to summarize Fakir's life here or the impact he has had on everyone in the community. For me, the most amazing thing about Fakir was his memory. He remembers everything. When it was time to have a final exam in class, Fakir decided that I should be the one to take it. And he would make the exam with the help of his classmates, the stuff he put on that exam. Who can remember that stuff? Like, what song did you write about in your song analysis paper 2 years ago? Good God. I passed, barely. Fakir's advisor was Don. Fakir wrote about one of these sessions with his characteristic eye for detail on November 3rd. After community meeting, I met with Don for advisees, which was pretty sweet. Don is an amazing advisor. He always has stories to tell, which are never boring. He told me about his daughter, Allison, and how when she was born, her umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck. Don said he was very worried, but thankfully she made it. The funny part about this is that Don and his wife would tell their daughter this story every Christmas. And now, because of that story, his daughter does not want to have a child. I find that hilarious. We then talked some more about how Don is kind of afraid that he will regret being a farmer for so long because he wants to try out new things. He also wants to find time to spend with his granddaughter. He is so happy when he talks about his granddaughter. It's very wholesome. So we've come to the end. That's the class of 2024, a class like no other. Good luck to you all.
Thank you very much, Roger. I know that one isn't easy for you every year, so thank you very much for doing it, and it's especially difficult this year with this class for all of us. And I'll tell you what Leonard said. Now, this class has enjoyed, I don't know how many breakfasts, lunches, dinners, all to say goodbye. And Leonard said, we are not starting new traditions here. So, class of 2024, that one was for you these last few weeks. So, there we go. All right, next up we have reading an excerpt from Faith Shank's senior essay. Those who do not know, all seniors, in order to graduate, have to write a 20-page research paper, and those who've been with us all 4 years go through a rewarding and grueling process of learning how to write and write well, and also make sure that your voice comes out. So, Faith, you're up first, and she wrote on emotional intimacy in long-distance relationships.
Good morning, everyone. On my first day at Olney Friends School, I remember thinking this was the place where I could make true friends. On my second day of orientation, I met Clive Mugisha. At first, I thought he was very mean towards others. He was rude in tone and critiqued almost everything. But over the next month, he and I became close. We were almost inseparable. He made me feel that it was okay to be me. For the next 3 years, Clive became my best friend. He was the foundation of Olney in my life. The first memory I have of feeling truly connected to Clive was my freshman and sophomore years when we first opened up about our emotions. Clive does not open up very often unless he knows and trusts a person. We were sitting in the back of the library and we talked for hours about how we were truly doing. Things like how we were dealing with our stress, how our mental health was, and how we were simply functioning. This was the first time he and I got past saying brief emotions such as good or bad. I spoke to him about things I had never told my friends before. Clive and I became dependent on each other, but in every good way possible. He and I grew together. He was my other half. We emotionally connected as we grew, but we understood one another in a way that had never happened before. This was a bond that was fierce and was and still is unbreakable. In 2022, he was a senior and I was a junior. We both knew we would be separated in just a few months, but our connection never stopped. When Clive left to go to college in Philadelphia, he took a big part of my Olney with him. It was terrifying to come back for my senior year. I would find myself wanting to show Clive something, or I would think I would find him in the library. Over time, I got used to it, but I still felt emotionally connected to Clive. He and I have continued our relationship online, so whenever he and I talk, we still have those feelings, and nothing has changed. We still have an emotional connection, even though there's a distance between us. However, the strength of our relationship has changed. It is even stronger, and we are more in tune with how we are feeling when we talk. Our connection with one another has grown stronger because we cannot be physically with one another. Earlier this year, he FaceTimed me randomly because I had told him I was having a hard time. He called around 11 p.m., I was in bed, and I had no desire to speak with anyone. When I answered the phone and I saw his big, cheeky smile, something lit up inside of me. It was like I knew I would feel a bit better after talking to him, and I could not wait for him to tell me everything was going to be okay. Clive immediately asked about me, and the want and need to spill everything wrong that week came out. Clive and I both feel as if our relationship has morphed into a stronger connection. I thought when Clive graduated, I would lose him. What happened instead is that we became closer, and being apart somehow brought us together. I want to understand how this is possible. This paper will discuss how people can rethink long-distance relationships and learn how physical separation can enhance emotional intimacy. I wish to debunk the idea that every long-distance relationship is doomed to fail, and I want others to experience the kind of connection I have with Clive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faith. And is Clive here? Okay, I think Clive is the only member of the class of 2023 not present, because I think I see Summer up there. There we go. So that makes everyone except Clive. Clive, if you're online, you should be here or make it to Burnsville soon. So I went to Philadelphia in April. I tried to meet with Clive, but you see, he was too cool for me. So I'll try next time in October. Okay? So there we are. And Faith, since you are in Marietta, we'll see, maybe we'll go catch up with Clive at the same time. All right, next up we have another reading from Fikir Tijen, here from Abyssinia. And he's a 3.5-year senior, although really I think of him as a 4-year senior. Phineas put it best on Thursday during our award ceremony that there is no one in this room, in our community, who hasn't felt helped, supported, and loved by Fikir. Sometimes he doesn't know how much we treasure him. We do, and he's hardest on himself when he makes mistakes. And so hopefully he will stop being that hard on himself eventually and realize it. But he's left an indelible mark on the school. He wrote on parasocial relationships, and for this one, I think he will give you a gift by speaking slowly and loudly, because he typically raps at 100 miles per hour because he thinks we are all at that level. So he goes by his better name, Fix. Over to you. Project.
Hey guys. Okay, I'll start. Jason L. Dibble, professor of communication at Hope College, defines parasocial relationships as, quote, a media user's reaction to a media performer such that the media user perceives the performer as an intimate conversational partner. A sense of conversational give and take often emerges during viewing and is strongest when the media performer bodily addresses the viewer through the camera, end of quote. Wall and Horton's 2006 study focused on understanding the roles of the audience and the host, which is the persona, in a parasocial relationship. They understood PSRs as a performative act where the host actively maintains an agreeable persona towards their viewers. The effect of the host's appealing persona is that it makes the viewer discern an emotional connection with their parasocial interest, leading to an illusion of intimacy. The rapid evolution of technology laid a foundation for parasocial relationships to develop much more easily. Unlike in 1956, when the main avenue for PSRs to form was through television or radio, PSRs are now more easily able to form in interactive digital environments such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. According to Bradley J. Bond, a professor of communication at the University of San Diego, platforms like Twitter provide, quote, audiences with intimate behind-the-scenes peeks into the personas' everyday lives and taste preferences, end of quote. Over time, the growing popularity of interactive digital environments has also blurred the boundaries between the persona and the audience. Unlike watching television, where the audience only shares certain episodes of the host's life, the hyperconnectivity that has been enabled through the internet has made it possible for audiences to subconsciously accept the persona as an element of their daily lives, leading to the formation of a limited, one-sided friendship. The one-sidedness that defines parasocial relationships has also been less prevalent as time went on, with the introduction of live streaming in the 1990s and the recent popularization of platforms such as Twitch or YouTube. The audience can interact with the persona and see them in real time. As parasocial interactions start to play a large role in our daily social interactions, instead of the internet becoming an escape from the real world becomes an escape from the internet. This way of relating to one another implies some form of intrinsic social transformation that is brought forth by the development of technology, and one that we are all collectively part of as we grow attached to our online utopian communities. Maria Matter, a neurological research assistant at the King's College London, writes in her blog Inspire the Mind that, quote, when we react intensely to the latest episodes of insert your favorite TV show or podcast here, the last thing we'd expect is for the characters or hosts to respond to us, no matter how personally connected to them or their experiences we may feel. On Twitch, this isn't the case. Live streaming presents a whole new kind of interaction, where the normally very palpable barrier between the content creator and the content consumer, which is the audience, has been dissolved. End of quote. Matter presents Twitch as a parasocial paradise, and one critical element of Twitch that leads her towards such a categorization is how connected live streaming makes viewers feel to their parasocial subject. Compared to other parasocial interactions on platforms such as Instagram or television, live streaming makes the viewer feel like the person they are watching knows them personally, and to some extent is more authentic. The primary focus of this research paper will be to examine the nature of those online communities and how our online presence manifests in our real lives and ultimately impacts our respective identities and who we collectively are as social animals. This paper will pose questions regarding how our ever-growing hyperconnectivity can lead to the creation of a modern-day panopticon, or more generally put, function in place of religion. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Fikir. All right, we move right along with our program. I was not surprised when I heard that Shirley, her colleagues requested her to serve as the class rep. Didn't surprise me one bit. There have been some choices that have surprised me in the past 6 years, not this one. And you'll soon see and hear why. Shirley.
Good morning, dear faculty, family, and friends. Thank you for coming to the commencement of the class of 2024. I am honored to share some feelings on behalf of my classmates. I'd like to thank all the parents, family, and friends who encouraged us so we can successfully sit in this room and graduate with you all today. We couldn't have done so well without your support for these years at Olney. I would also like to thank all the teachers for always being there to provide us help. You are our instructors, mentors, and friends. My memory of Olney fell into categories. There are moments glittering with happiness, like when we played Dungeons and Dragons together at junior year. Or all the Frosties we had during Enviro with Leonard. Or movie nights with Roger. And some of them are just normal moments of quiet routine, like going to the collection every day, or seeing Livesey Lake every morning as we come out of the dorm. And some of them are filled with frustration due to all the papers and work from some teacher who knows who they are. I don't know if it's an appropriate joke, but anyways. As someone who is quirky, according to Roger, I was never suitable enough for a regular path that the people around me were choosing, which means keep going to school in your hometown, do your homeworks, make a lot of friends, and invite them to your home on the weekends. I was too quirky for any of them. And that led me to this long period of time that was out of touch with the real world, completely off the trail of the moving forward train and standing alone in the forest that was full of fog. In other words, I was confused by myself. What do I want to do with my life? I have no clue. So I isolated myself from reality and tried to figure it out. Everyone else moved forward with their lives while I fell further and further behind. At that time, I thought having a normal school life and a decent job in the future is something that I can never have. But when I found Olney, I also found the X design for the fog forest. It's like my dark night has finally arrived at dawn. I kept working, having goals for my life, like a rebirth, including meeting all of my friends and aiming for a dream college. Somehow my quirkiness fit in here just fine. I gained a lot of confidence and encouragement that I had never had before. And my abilities that had never been recognized before were finally valued. Here, I want to say nice to meet you all for my classmates. And on behalf of my class, to say a special thank you to Roger, who has been our humanities teacher for 3 years. For the past 3 years, we, the class of 2024, have been sailing on this big ship, a paraship. Each of us has played different roles on the ship. Roger, without a doubt, is our captain, steering the ship and guiding us in the right direction. The crew on board has come and gone, but we all have all progressed together. Faith, our chef mate, leads the crew in daily maintenance and upkeep of the deck. Fakir, our ship engineer, diligently checks and operates the ship's equipment. He's hardworking and responsible, ensuring safe watchkeeping every day over the past 4 years he had worked on the ship. Dolores, our quartermaster, is also our treasurer. Thanks to her hardworking nature, she managed our supplies and wealth, and we are all confident of leaving her the responsibilities. Nelson is our fighter. He is brave and has strong fighting abilities. He always stands up when we need it. Abraham is our sailor. He's easygoing and always helps us with small, tedious tasks while he also wanders around the deck. On this voyage, we've been sailing hand in hand. On the deck, we bathe in the sun and play all kinds of games. We read a lot of books and watch a lot of movies. But also, Captain Roger taught us how to read and think critically, not just books and movies, but the rules that govern how we live together. But the journey is also about to come to its destination, and ahead lies more challenges and difficulties that are full of undiscovered countries. The moment of getting off the ship is undoubtedly difficult because we're used to having each other's company. Where do we go next without Captain Roger? So back to the question I asked before, what do I want to do with my life? Well, after all the years I spent at Olney, I can finally tell you guys that I still don't know the answer. But I do not need to know the answer anymore. Life after Olney could be scary and unpredictable, but that's what makes it so awesome. If everything is possible, then just go out there and try. Olney gave me so many opportunities to do the things I never did before, and gave me a ticket to go to somewhere else in the future. We might be getting off the ship, but we won't forget Olney, and our para adventures are only beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. And I think now you see what I say. You will see and hear for yourself what comes out of that powerhouse. All right, now it's time for our diplomas. And by the way, Roger's your humanities teacher for 3 years. I had to go to the music room, find him, and say, Roger, will you teach the sophomores next year? It took him half a minute to say yes. He said, well, I have these other things to do, but just know, Christian, I will do it. Now let's talk about these other things. Then junior year came around, because Roger typically teaches senior humanities. Junior year came around, and I had to ask again. And he said, sure. Now, last summer, I did the opposite. I said, Roger, how about you teach another humanities class, not senior humanities? And now I quote, I want to complete the work I started with these seniors in their sophomore year. So there you go. Your captain never gave up on you, never even thought of it whatsoever, and that trick worked last summer. I hope to use it again. I've spent this year telling the seniors different numbers. So we only ordered 3 diplomas. And then the number went up to 4 diplomas. 2 months ago, it dropped to 2 diplomas. So please check these things and make sure there is a signed diploma in there for you. This is the 3rd Kaketo to graduate from Olney Friends School. First was Nicholas up front here, then Alice, and now Nelson. And we wait for Jeremiah. So first up, Jonathan, Nelson, Waswa, Kaketo. Congratulations. I'll tell the stories later. Zihan Liu, Dolores, congratulations. Smile for the paparazzi. Coolest man in town. Kawaka's man, Abraham Ethan Mulindwa. Congratulations, Abraham. I'm sure your mom, Monica, is very proud of you, even though she couldn't make it here today. And your dad, Alan, is here with us. And Malaika up there, in 2 years she'll graduate. Congratulations. Yes. Charlie asked me whether I'd forgotten her name as we practiced yesterday, and I said it. Pam. You do, Pam, Charlie. Get here. Congratulations, Charlie. Diploma. Yes, please keep it moving. Yes, and here from Burnsville, Ohio, my hometown, Faith Ann Shanks. Congratulations, Faith. Smile for mom and dad. Wonderful. Yes, the second Abyssinian brother after Kidus. So what are we going to do? We don't have a band anymore. Yes, the Abyssinian brothers and the letdowns. What are we going to do? Congratulations, Fikir, Tijen. Smile, you have people there. Wonderful. Before our commencement speaker comes up here, I will say some words. They've been waiting for the stories, and they don't know which stories I'm going to tell. They're all good stories. Let us see. Fikir, as a 9th grader, lost his telephone on day 1 in my classroom because he kept on using his phone in our humanities class. And this class has had me 9th grade humanities, 9th grade metanoia, 10th grade metanoia, and a few of them still chose electives after that. But Fikir, I remember that young man, that first week, telling me that he didn't like to read, didn't like to write. And then to watch his growth over time, it's just been inspiring. It's wonderful to see you grow, Fikir, and there is a lot more in store for you there. And I will not forget that very heavy left pocket of yours. I don't know what you put in there. 3 telephones. I tried to mimic it, but every time I saw him, I say, what's going on with that left pocket? And so that image will always come through, and the smile, the happiness, but this one will stick with me. And I told some colleagues yesterday, I went around for a ride with Fikir, and every time I turned to look at the oncoming traffic so we could get in the road, Fikir also put his head in the way with his hair. Said, I'm going to burn your hair. That's we can't see. So there we go. And Faith, our 4-year senior, I'll tell you what, interviewed Faith, and it was a very easy decision. 5 minutes in, said Faith belongs at Olney Friends School. And you see, for the first month of Faith's time at Olney Friends, I always expected an email at 8 p.m. from Faith, quickly followed by another one from Holly, her mom, at 8:30 p.m. Christian, what's all this homework about? What's going on? This is too much. Our computers have now crashed. We are not going to do anymore. This year I haven't received an email. Last year I didn't. And I'll tell you what, it's Faith who's encouraged everyone else who's come through. Say, people don't die in a metanoia class. You think you will, but you won't. And just go with it. And so asked about which skills she's developed the most in her 4 years. Faith said writing and critical thinking. And that's because of all of us here and because of Faith. She believed in herself very much. And trust me, those emails that first month, I wouldn't have had it any other way because I knew you were doing the homework and wanted to do it very, very well. And that is Faith Shanks for you. So congratulations, you left a mark on all of us. Shirley, I've never met anyone like this in my life. Someone who will criticize me so much in the public and then in my office be so open and vulnerable and tell me what she actually thinks and feels. And I accepted it these years. I knew in the public we would give the public something and then later we would have our chat. I'm proud of Shirley because of how much she has given to herself, not just academically, but saying, yes, I'm going to uplift myself, going to take the time I need to get some things in order, and then I'll move on, and it will not stop my plans. Even though she freaked out about getting into her top school. Say, Shirley, what's going on? You worked so hard to get in, now what's going on? I'm scared to go. I said, that's the right feeling. Then you're going the right place. So there you go, Shirley. Down there with Abraham, our 1-year senior, Abraham almost didn't show up to Olney Friends School. 2 weeks before school, he told us he wouldn't show up. And we were heartbroken. But his parents talked with him, he showed up, and 1 week in, he was very comfortable at Olney Friends School. He found his friends, and here I was, as Roger said, a ray of light all the time, and always happy, always positive, And we always say, but aren't you a silent burner, Abraham? Somewhere in the background, but I haven't seen any of that. It's just been positive. Dolores is someone who always kept quiet in my business ethics class, and at the end would say, no, people, you don't get the point. It's about money and making lots of it. So why are you moralizing about it? No. And eventually she's the one who made the case for why we had to review, one of the case studies on Moldova and parents selling their kidneys to feed their families. She opened that class up for all of us. I went in with the syllabus and had to change it 3 weeks in because of the comments Dolores made. Very understated, but just rock solid. And once Dolores opens her mouth, you have to steady yourself. Because what's going to come out there, you can't deny. And there we go. All the best in Wisconsin, Dolores. And finally, the operator himself here, Waswa. Those papers on the brothers Karamazov, my gosh, sophomore year, we need to be good people. As long as you put God first, all will be well. And he just kept going at it. So finally I said, write a paper not about God, and let's see what happens. He still wrote a paper on God. And the brothers Karamazov, you can't really avoid it. Just as I asked Shirley to write a paper on joy, because she had insisted on writing papers on suffering, So there we go. But I think, Nelson, I will improve my moves. Maybe the next time you see me, I'll be able to move a bit like you. Wonderful. So now we go to our commencement address. We have Rosemary Ketchum here, councilwoman from the city of Wheeling, who does a lot of social justice work. The first time Rosemary gave a talk at Olney Friends School during the pandemic, it was over Zoom. I remember 2 words, radical candor, I think just after a book of the same title. So, Rosemary, welcome to Olney.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Graduates, family, friends, alumna, faculty. It is an honor to be with you here today. As was mentioned, this is my 2nd time presenting and speaking to Olney, and only my 3rd time on campus. And I already feel so connected and so familial here with the folks. I extend my deepest gratitude and thanks to Headmaster Achuma and his campus team for inviting me here to speak today, and thanks to Vivian, his incredible wife, who has made me feel so comfortable, and a special thanks to Faith and Holly Shanks for connecting me to Olney, not just today, but in, I think, the most incredible and thoughtful ways. It is a profound honor to stand before you here today in this momentous occasion as an elected councilperson, a first-generation college student, a proud member of the LGBTQ community, and a believer in the values of the Quaker tradition. I am deeply grateful to share in the joy of your achievements and to celebrate the incredible journey each of you have undertaken. Today we celebrate your achievements and the culmination of years of hard work, growth, and discovery. But I will be honest, before accepting the offer to speak with you here today, I didn't know a ton about the Olney Friends campus. I did, though, know that there were a group of students in Ohio in the woods doing something. And I was very curious of what was happening here. But it didn't take long to find out that this is a very special place with very special people. And I'm not just talking about Dawn, who gave me a grand tour. Does everybody know Dawn in the room? I have learned Olney Friends is an institution, but Dawn himself is the institution. At my previous time here, about a week ago, I received the grand campus tour, not of just this building, but of what felt like the 365 acres of the Olney Friends School. We spent hours and hours walking around campus, into the buildings, getting a tour of the facility, but more than anything, understanding the legacy here. And something that really stood out to me, I was so inspired to learn that Don's father's personal contribution to the Olney Friends School is alive and well in so many pieces of this campus. He is a real asset and represents the loyalty and commitment to the Olney tradition. I'll say also a story from my last week here on Olney. I stepped on campus about a week ago for my tour, and there was a group of students leaving for a trip to DC. This group of students, they were very eager for their trip to DC, and Headmaster Achima laughed at the eagerness of the class, excited for the trip, but also mentioned the value of the experience that they were about to take on. After they left, I started my tour, and it wasn't 10 minutes later when Headmaster received a phone call that the van had broken down. So much for the optimism and enthusiasm. After this phone call, they had not made it out of Barnesville, I learned. They said, did they make it to Wheeling? Did they make it close? They did not. I still don't know if you made it to DC. Did you guys actually? Okay, good. Anyway, I was so struck by the grace and humor and joy and patience that Christian showed after learning about this quite unexpected breakdown. Not humor or joy because of the breakdown itself, I hope, but as I can imagine, laughing at the absurdity and randomness of life, embracing the unexpected nature of this life. When I think of the lessons of my own life, I'd like to impart on students entering the world with bright eyes. I struggle. This is not my first commencement address, but each time I struggle to give one because I truly believe that the absurdity and randomness of life is inherent to its beauty and ability to take you places that you never dreamed possible, whether to Barnesville or just right out of Barnesville to DC, 10 minutes away. When I was 16, I moved to West Virginia as a young transgender person, totally untethered in life and unsure of what I wanted. My own vision of life was clouded by what I thought the world would let me do or let me have. You see, when you are part of a marginalized community, you run the risk of internalizing that marginalization, adopting the world's belief of who you are and what you can be. I remember barely graduating high school, believing that college was a long shot, that any chance of a good, respectable job was nearly impossible because of my gender identity and our society's cultural perception of it, and wondering whether I'd ever even find a community to share my life with. I say these things to you because I'm sure even after your great success and overcoming the odds, whether you've crossed state lines or traveled across the globe to be here, you still hold limiting beliefs about what you can accomplish. But I stand here today to tell you the only limits to what you can accomplish are the ones that you impose on yourself. That kid that was too afraid to take the entrance exam to go to college graduated with top honors. That kid who believed that they would never become a professional became an elected official. And that kid who worried that they would never find a community built one of their own. In life, I have learned that to do two specific things that have worked for me. Those two things are to be bold and to give grace. Being bold looks like taking risks when the outcome is unsure. When you feel in your gut that something isn't right about the world and you take the uncomfortable and oftentimes unpopular path to fix it. And giving grace looks like understanding the different journey each of us have taken to be here, and rather than leaning into criticism and meanness, you lean into curiosity and kindness and radical candor. When I ran my first campaign in 2020, I had no idea what I was doing. I remember starting our door knocking, canvassing our neighborhood in the dead of winter, and if you've ever been involved in a campaign, that is not when you start door knocking. And yet, my team and I went out door knocking in a very suburban neighborhood. I represent a group of neighborhoods, East Wheeling, South Wheeling, Center Wheeling, and Mozart, a part of an urban downtown, and then a suburban neighborhood in the hills called Mozart. My campaign manager and I, Laura Kastenbauer, took site on a neighborhood called Mozart to door knock in the dead of winter of, I think it was November 2019. And I was very green and very fresh, and I had all of my literature, and I had practiced my campaign speech in the mirror a dozen times, and we had a digital platform with all of the voters. And so we decided to knock on our first house of the campaign, and we decided to look at the map and go to the very edge of our community so that we could work our way from the outside in. And we encountered on the first door knock this very sweet, middle-aged bald man who answered the door, and I gave my speech and I said, "Hi, my name is Rosemary. I'm running for city council. I represent this ward. Here are the issues that I'm focused on. Here's the literature." He was silent. He kind of read what I had. I could see his eyes scanning the issues, and then he flipped it over to look at my contact information, and he said, "Well, thank you for knocking on my door, but you are in the wrong county." As a first-time candidate, this was a political blunder that would take a campaign, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Please don't tell the newspaper that I was here or that we've spoken." And he said, "No, it's not a problem. Did you go to the edge of the map?" And I said, "That's exactly what we did." And he said, "Well, it's complicated, but if you just go across the street, you'll be in the right county." Sorry about that. And so my first day of campaigning was my worst day of campaigning. Laura and I went back to our car where we had parked at this local bar and tried to figure out what we were going to do. And then we decided to walk into the bar and really get a sense of where we were. And so we took our map, we walked into the bar, and this was, as you can imagine, a country West Virginian bar, and there were these two somewhat quite progressive women in campaign gear walking up to the bar, and we walked in and it felt like a record scratch. It was a horseshoe bar, some older folks in there drinking and having fun, and a bartender that looked like the bar had been built around her 50 years prior. And we walked in there, record scratch silence, and we speak to the bartender and said, "Hey, we're out here trying to find specific addresses. Can you tell us where the county line is?" And the whole bar started to laugh. And some guy from the back shouted, "Oh, well, Marshall County is in the men's room and Ohio County is in the women's room." And we laughed too. They were pointing at the bathrooms. And we said, "Oh, cool. Thank you. They were like, "Just go across the street and you'll be in the right county." And so we did that, and we spent the next hour or two before sundown door knocking. We went back to our car and loaded up all of our items, started to drive off, and we noticed just out of the corner of our eye the bar door swing open and this man start jutting out and yelling for us. And this was the moment, I thought that knocking in the wrong county was the worst, this was the moment I thought, we are going to die. He started hailing us down and saying, "Hey, stop!" And so we didn't, as you can imagine, until he got closer, and then I stopped the car and rolled down the window, terrified and frightened, feeling like, gosh, I just want to serve the community. I didn't know this was so hard. We rolled down the window, and he said, "Hey, you are the worst politician I've ever met." And I said, "Thank you." He said, "You walk in here, ask us a bunch of questions, but you didn't introduce yourself. You didn't give us anything." And I said, "I'm so sorry, we were confused," and whatever. He was like, "No, whatever. He said, "But what did happen is you walked in, and Mary said, 'You know what? I think that was a man that just walked in here.' And then Brett said, 'No, that was just a tall woman.'" And then the guy said, so we started squabbled about that, and we were like, whatever, but if she cares enough to come to our neighborhood in the dead of winter and knock on doors, she must have something to say. So the folks inside would like your business cards and a couple rack cards, and if you ever want to come by and chat with them, they'd love to learn more about your campaign. This was a moment that kind of blew my mind in a couple ways. When I talk about being bold and when I talk about giving grace, this is a story that sticks out to me because I had a choice to make in that moment to either kind of stand in my progressive virtuism and say, hey, you're not using the right language, you're not using the right pronouns, you can't behave this way. Or what we decided to do was give grace and say, thank you, we apologize, here's some information, here's my cell phone number, can I come by next week and chat with folks? And he said, yeah, absolutely. These folks in that bar and this man have since become some of my closest allies on city council and have helped decide policy and think about the neighborhood itself, but is an example of what it looks like to give grace. I have learned a lot in my elected life. I know more about water sewer infrastructure than anybody in this room, and more than I've ever wanted to know. But I've also learned the value of community in government. Not just community in government, but young folks being involved in government. I was elected at 26, not that young. I'm 30 now. But as I grow into my elected position and find myself eager to continue this work, I think about the bench that we need to be building, not just in political office, although I hope that some folks do decide to run, but community and civic engagement. Your ability to shape the future of the world is easier than you think, which is incredible and incredibly terrifying because a lot can happen in just a couple years. Serving my community has been the honor of my life, and I feel compelled, even after a recent election loss earlier this month, to continue this work in different capacities. The law of conservation says that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just transforms. And today, as graduates, your energy is transforming. Whatever life throws your way, whatever random, absurd, funny, terrifying, heartbreaking things happen to you, and they will happen to you, I want you to consider this. Whether you believe in accident or fate, we did not get here today by mistake. Each of us represent a constellation of people who have loved us, who have taught us valuable lessons, who have broken our hearts, and who will mend them again. And your success today is yours, and even if in small part, theirs. As you look around the room today, this may be the last time you will enter these sacred Olney Friends halls as students, but hopefully not the last time as learners. I hope that you carry with you the legacy of Quaker values that have shaped your education. These values will serve as a compass, guiding you through the inevitable challenges and triumphs that lie ahead. They will remind you to be true to yourself, to act with integrity, to live simply, to strive for equity, to cultivate peace, and to build strong communities. A famous Quaker once said, "There were pages turned with the bridges burned. Everything you lose is a step you take. So make the friendship bracelets, take this moment and taste it." I'm sorry, that is a Taylor Swift quote. That is not a Quaker quote. But I had to. It's from You're On Your Own, Kid, which is a very good song. Anyway, to the graduates today, I offer my heartfelt congratulations. You have achieved something remarkable, and you have the potential to achieve so much more. Embrace the future with confidence and courage. Be the rebels, the advocates, the leaders that our world so desperately needs right now. Don't lose sight of your curiosity for learning and your belief in change. And always remember that you are not alone. You are part of a larger community that supports you, believes you, and celebrates your journey. Also, come back to Barnesville, please. So my advice to you is simple: be bold, give grace, and get going. Congratulations to the class of 2024. Thank you so much. Sorry. No applause. That was a test. That was a test.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. And we will give grace to those who applauded. Worry not. It is well, it is well, it is well, everyone. All right, I've spent the last few days avoiding Don, because when I requested him to be our special guest, do some reflections on Olney or whatever, he's our resident historian. He knows everything about Olney Friends School. So I've avoided him because I know he knows what to say, how to say it. So Don, it's time to wrap it up.
So let me just apologize to begin with. Thank you, Christian. When Christian asked if I'd say a few words today, I of course said no. I hate public speaking. I get so nervous and then I get emotional. I think he wanted me to speak today just so I get to cry in front of you. I'm going to try not to. Over the past few years, I've learned to trust Christian's judgment and try to entertain his ideas. So here I am. When I tried to think of what I could possibly say, I realized I am probably the best qualified person here to speak about commencement, because I've attended all commencements since 1956, except for two. When we moved here, Olney students were our babysitters. And of course, Olney students had to attend commencement exercises. So as a babe in arms, I attended. We moved here when I was 3 months old. In 1966, I missed because I had the mumps. In 1978, I missed because I was invited to Chicago to try out for the U.S. men's Olympic soccer team. Dreams died that weekend. And I'd heard I missed a really great Olney commencement. If you graduated from here, I saw it. Of all the commencement speakers, of all the grady essays presented, of all the heads of school comments and wisdom imparted, I remember very little. Except for today. The two things I remember the best were head of school Ken Jacobson singing the Grateful Dead song Ripple to the class of 1996. It seemed so radical and appropriate here in this meeting house. What I truly remember, though, the most is every year the look of joy on the graduates' faces as they receive their diplomas. Congratulations and thank you.
I want to add something that's going on. There'll be worship sharing, 3 o'clock in the what was the game room, and now I believe is the lecture room, which is also next to the social room. Everyone is welcome.
Thank you very much, Don. A real exemplar of just the awesomeness of my colleagues. You're just incredible. We need to have a whole ceremony just for the Olney Friends School faculty, because no single person here does it all. It's a group effort. And when the team is not working well, you feel it. And when it's working well, the students feel it, and they know. We did a bit of marketing here, and the students, did a survey. So, what do you like about the school? 80% of the respondents said the way the faculty treat us as human beings, as equals, and they will go the extra mile to make sure we are cared for. That one, just a few days ago. Some took the survey yesterday, and others the day before. So that says so much about all the work you're doing, colleagues. And so, yes, all of us here, graduates, may we all remember to give ourselves some grace, and others to be vulnerable, to make sure we can forgive each other, forgive ourselves as well for things, transgressions, recognize, bracket, change, and move on with that forgiveness. May we remember not to be judgmental. Again, part of being grace, you having that grace, can sit on your high horse, but you will not really get community from there at all. May you remember to let your light shine, and for no one to put it out for any reason, and for you to speak, have your voice, let it speak, always the truth, always uplifting others, again, in a process of humanization. So that is our commencement for today. We are going to have a few minutes of worship, and then you will see the now graduates, class of 2024. I'm sure they checked those diplomas to make sure that they were all signed and ready to go. So they'll walk out, and they will give us the signal for the final applause. And since you've been so good, everyone here, I'm grateful for you, for our alumni, our board members, our parents who entrust us the care of these students, and the students themselves for coming back. Thank you to every one of you. You are special to us. Those online, you're special to us, everyone. And after we hear the applause, please allow me to buy you lunch.